What's good? What's good, everybody? This is your boy D Money. We on another day in the life of a designer, and what we primarily going to talk about tonight is why From the Mud is more than a collection. So make sure that you like, subscribe, make sure that you share with your friends and family, and what I'm saying, stay tuned because we got a lot in store. Um, as well too, make sure you check out the From the Mud collection. It's available on our website. Literally talks about pain, struggle, and pressure, and how I was able to implement all that from the beginning of building this brand all the way to now. You feel me? So the main question that we open up with, I'm gonna have tonight, is what is your well, what if your greatest creative advantage wasn't your comfort but your perspective? You know what I'm saying? From the Mud isn't just a title, it's a philosophy. You know what I'm saying? Mud represents uncertainty, setbacks, difficult seasons. Growth doesn't happen because struggle is good. It happens because of how you respond to it. And many people, they try to hide their difficulty, their difficult chapters in their life. They pretty much don't even look in the mirror when it comes to situations in their life. They don't even really hold themselves fully accountable. Creatives often transform themselves into something meaningful, you know, if they truly embrace their journey. You know, weeds, grow through concrete, construction sites, or, new growth after rain. You know, growth often begins in imperfect, you know, conditions. Progress doesn't require perfect situations or circumstances. Mainly it's pressure reveals your priorities. And pressure doesn't create your character, it often reveals it. You know, with different things like deadlines, financial pressures, what I'm saying? Most people, they dealing with financial struggles even now. How you doing? Ingrid, appreciate you for, hopping on the live. Primarily what we're gonna be talking about is why the From the Mud collection, is more than, just a collection. Um, Creative, blocks, rejection, self-doubt, you know, come with pressure. What happens when, you have to develop habits to survive when life gets difficult? Me personally, I've had to do that from day one. Well before, I even graduated from high school. My mom was sick when I was 12 years, well, it started when I was 10, and she was in the hospital for a month before she even came back home after, she developed heart cancer. So within that month, I was already, helping my sister get ready for school, making sure we had breakfast in the morning. You feel me? And, I would either most times pick her up from school just so that way we can go back to the babysitters. I mean, we went to the same school, but what I'm saying, I had to make sure she was good even well before I could, really take care of myself. So, you start to develop, certain habits, priorities, responsibilities when the pressure comes. And when the pressure comes, it shows you whether you're going to run away or, you're going to be all in. What values remain when shortcuts become tempting? Honestly, I've had a lot of shortcuts, arise on my journey, and I've taken some of them. But ultimately, what I had to learn is that pressure exposes weak systems, but it can also clarify what actually matters the most. You feel me? And ultimately, remaining independent, remaining, focused in on being consistent, showing up for, the viewers, the brand overall, that's, what develops solid habits, solid routines, even building solid systems. So that way, when, others come in and maybe do temporary work or, part-time or full-time work. They already understand the system. They already understand how things work and, how to make things progress. Pain can, become perspective. Be careful not to, glorify suffering because, instead of, reflecting after setbacks, lessons, learn from failure, how difficult experiences, can deepen empathy and even observation. Why meaningful design often comes from, honest experiences rather than imitation. The goal isn't to create because you're hurting. The goal is to create because you're learning something worth sharing. You feel me? You can give people an experience that not only that, you learn from, but you are able to get out of, you're able to succeed from, you are able to, slay those dragons. You feel me? What's good, Luke Skywrider? Yeah, appreciate y'all for, hopping on the chat as well too, man. Make sure that y'all like and subscribe. Make sure you share with your friends and family as well, so that way we continue to, blow up. It's good catching with Kate. Appreciate you for hopping on the live. But yeah, let's get further into this. Turning experience into design. How does a life experience become collection? It comes through experiences, reflection, you feel me? Research, writing, sketching, editing, you know what I'm saying? Sampling, storytelling, and, your final product, you feel me? The garment is the last step of your overall design journey, you feel me? As far as just designing. The real design work begins long before, the sketch, started out with, just me practicing sketching, you know what I'm saying? Taking, journals with information as far as, about business, about ideas, about the industry, you know what I'm saying? Having different conversations with, different professionals in different fields, even, professionals within my field, having a mentor, you know what I'm saying? Once I first started out, James Baldwin, you feel me? Helped me to, actually see the business side of things and not just look at it from, creative perspective. Photographs, mood boards, you know what I'm saying? Walks and, reflections, you know what I'm saying? And even observation become creative references. But you don't build an identity around the struggle. You feel me? Your past can influence your work without defining your future. And that's ultimately the key. And that's ultimately the key for From the Mud. It's not to, define the pain as what the brand is built on, but ultimately to show you that the pain was a starting point, was a wake-up call. You feel me? That, this can't be it. This ain't, what, is meant for me. This is just to, strengthen me. This is to, make me the man that I'm supposed to be or the woman that I'm supposed to be. You feel me? Honoring where you came from, continuing to grow, you know what I'm saying? Letting your work evolve, avoiding the trap of believing you must stay in hardship to remain authentic. Growth doesn't erase your story, it expands it. The meaning of From the Mud, you know what I'm saying? Like I said, the mud symbolizes, you know what I'm saying, not where, you come from, but necessarily symbolizes, the resilience, patience, perspective, discipline, transformation overall. You know what I'm saying? What's one challenge that changed the way you think? And honestly, the first challenge was, being homeless. You feel me? That was really, what changed the way I thought about things. Because once I went homeless, that's where the wake-up call came, where I gotta, chase my dreams. Like, I can't just be doing typical 9 to 5, because I seen my mom work, as a manager for multiple companies, making, over, 50 to 75K a year, still, struggling, you know what I'm saying, to provide at a high level. working 100 hours a week for, a man that don't even give a fuck about your health and barely give you any health insurance. Then, once the World Trade Centers, went down, seeing my stepdad, and my dad lose their jobs immediately with no, foundation to, stand on. They pretty much had to get regular day-to-day jobs, you feel me? So, just being homeless was that first challenge for me. And, at times I've had to go through it, to chase these dreams, to, get what I want out of life. But ultimately, it just helped me get stronger. And, how have, difficult experience shape, your work or your character? As far as my work, it's just amplified my character because it shows that, I come from a good place. I come with a good heart. I move with intention. I move with purpose and a positive mindset. Ultimately, even within those difficult experiences, they never stop me. They never slow me down. They never, overshadowed my character. So I just, try to channel those principles, those values, and implement that in what I'm doing. What are you creating today that reflects how you've grown? Honestly, putting in the work every day, showing up, for the brand, building, a solid foundation to where, not only I can, benefit from it, but, those that are involved, those that support, those that, are fans of my work, they can all be, part of the journey and gain something from it. You feel me? That's why I try to, implement, certain values in, my collections, talk about, different principles, guidelines, boundaries, for, the overall landscape of the world. Everybody has a different story. The goal isn't to compare struggles, but to consider how life experiences can shape meaningful work. And that's all really what the From the Mud collection is about. It's just shaping, different life experiences and making it something meaningful. Pretty much, like how, black people use the word nigga now to, tone down what's that shit? Can't even get the word out. The negativity behind it, pretty much what I'm saying. They just trying to, make it something endearing instead of, derogatory. There's the word. Feel me? So, every creative journey has seasons that, feel uncertain. Even right now for, dreams of rulers, everything kind of feels uncertain, even though, I see constant growth every day just from an owner and founder's perspective. But, from a viewer's perspective, everything's kind of up in the air. And that's fine because, kind of want it that way. Want to come up, feeling like, a nigga dead. But then, next thing you know, we pop out, we alive. Those moments don't automatically produce great work. But, they can deepen your perspective. And if you're, willing to learn from them, From the Mud isn't about staying in the struggle. It's about carrying forward the resilience, clarity, and overall purpose you gain while moving through it. The strongest work often doesn't come from pretending life was easy. It comes from transforming experiences into something honest, thoughtful, and worth sharing. You feel me? Like I said, your story is something prominent because ultimately you had to go through so much pain, so much different types of struggle, situations, and you were able to elevate from that. You feel me? Once people see that you're able to elevate through something, it becomes meaningful. And then once you put positivity behind it, it becomes that story, becomes that moment in time where, you know what I'm saying, it becomes an example to everyone around you and that, you know, is able to see. So the more that you know what I'm saying, embrace your journey and, you know, I guess you could say document these moments, then your only, you know, ceiling is up. You feel me? Ceiling, you know, the ceiling becomes the floor, and then, you know, all you can do is go up because you already hit rock bottom. And honestly, that's what's, you know, happened to me in my life. You know what I'm saying? Constantly hit rock bottom, constantly, you know what I'm saying, been going after my dreams while, you know, I've had family members say I wasn't going to be shit. My dad said I wasn't going to be shit. Dad, you know, put me in the most awkward positions as a, you know, for an individual to another individual to come out of. Like literally the man stole over $120K that was saved for my inheritance. Changed my last name and everything just to get to the money. And then didn't even spend it on our well-being. He spent it on shit that I can't even fucking calculate or even, you know, have some type of evidence of. That's how crazy it is, bro. And then, you know, to grow up, you know, don't have any true support, even the support that, you know, you get. People talking shit behind your back, talking about you ain't shit, talking about, you know, you do this, that, and the third, and you ain't even did half those things. You feel me? And not to say, you know, I never took accountability or, you know what I'm saying, I blamed everybody, but, you know, it's just a part of life. And I take, you know, full accountability for all my wrongs, but at the same time, you know what I'm saying, I've been wronged well before I did any wrong. So, you know, it's kind of hard to take full accountability for something that, you know, you ain't even start. You just trying to finish. So now I just had, you know, put the tunnel vision on, put the blinders on, you feel me? Said, fuck the haters, fuck the, you know, self-doubt, fuck the, you know, fear, fuck everything that would be in my way. And I just started going after it even harder. That's why you see me on the live streams. That's why you see the podcast, A Lot of Fashion, which we just had a new episode drop on Sunday. Make sure you tap in with that joint. We also, you know, got the Drip Talk web series. We got Unpackaged. We got, you know, things going on with the brand, growing, progressing. And I didn't need any of those people. All I needed was myself, belief, hard work, you feel what I'm saying? And consistency and discipline. And, you know, unwavering focus. You feel me? You really just got to be delusional about your dreams and goals. Go after them, motherfucker. And don't wait for nobody to tell you it's okay. Or tell you you're doing it right. Or, you know, tell you that it's wrong. Because ultimately, a lot of shit that people doing on a day-to-day basis is wrong. It's just a matter of, you know, whether somebody gonna tell them it's wrong or not. And that's really what it is. So, you know, you just gotta find your lane, go after that joint, stay in it, and, you know, grow it. That's why, you know, we created From the Mud. So that way, you know, it'd just be another example of, you know, the struggle, pain, you know, pressure that turned into progress. And, you know, the next collection student of the game would just be, you know, another level of elevation for that. So definitely stay tuned. Definitely tap into, you know, From the Mud collection. It's a definitely different and unique collection from a lot of fashion collections that you've ever seen before. Number one, because it starts out having its own poetry behind it, along with, you know, the apparel that we created. Then on top of that, it comes with a poetry book to capture, you know, those moments. You feel me? So definitely tap in, definitely check it out. I appreciate all those that hopped on the live tonight. It's been hopping on the live, been hopping, you know, on the content, showing love on all of our content. And we're only continuing to grow, and it only happens with you guys supporting. So I appreciate it. I appreciate all the day ones. You feel me? And, you know, if today's your first day being a day one, appreciate you for joining the squad, bro. And sis, keep visualizing, keep being kings and queens, start living like royalty. We out.